It's really good to be here this afternoon at Arbor Terrace of Cooper City. Arbor Terrace is both an assisted living facility and a memory care facility. The way I wound up here was through searching for a place for my parents, and we really went through a lot. I feel like I've done a lot of the research for all of you, and we're going to get into it today. I'm Ellen Mitchell, your heels on the ground in the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area. And on this channel, we're going to talk about everything probate, guardianship, senior relocation. And part of senior relocation is independent living, assisted living, memory care. So we're going to talk about all of that and more. And today I have the opportunity to introduce you to Mandy. And Mandy, if you can tell us who you are and what you do here.
Hi guys, thank you for having me on your channel. My name's Mandy and I'm with Arbor Terrace, Cooper City. We offer assisted living and memory care located in the Cooper City area of South Florida. I've been in senior living for about 12 years and I've been with this community itself almost 3 years.
And Mandy, what do you find, I know one of the things that I was very concerned about was pricing, and how do people pay for independent living, assisted living, and memory care? What do you find is the most common?
So that's a great question because that's actually the number one fear that I hear the most when the older adults are coming in and they're looking for senior housing for their parent. They don't want to outlive the money, and they are afraid of what happens when they outlive their money. So most families, when they come in to inquire about senior living, the number one concern is price. What is it going to cost me, and what happens when my money has run out? So most times, the adult senior themselves might have assets, a long-term care policy, a home to sell, and they use that to supplement their monthly income. There's also veteran benefits that a lot of veterans out there do not know. So veterans and their spouse can apply for what's called aid and attendance and use that to help pay for their monthly care in the community. I also have heard that there is a possibility to cash a a life insurance policy and use that to pay for care as well.
You mentioned two things that I hadn't thought of before. One was the veterans benefits. I did not know that that was available. And the life insurance, I do have a family member, an extended family member, that cashed in a very large life insurance policy. Well, they didn't cash it in. Someone else bought out the life insurance policy, and that gave them several more years worth of income.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Medicaid.
Yes.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
I met with Bobby Maloro, who we both know is a Medicaid planning attorney. So I know some facilities accept Medicaid and some facilities don't. Arbor Terrace does accept Medicaid. How does that work? Do the people come in already approved, or what do our viewers need to know?
So when someone is Medicaid planning, it's important to let the community know that up front because, like you mentioned, not all communities accept Medicaid. Medicaid has several different contracts. So we accept one that's called Florida Community Care. That's probably one that you're familiar with.
It is.
And they contribute a dollar amount to the community each month, and that is taken off the residents' care cost. It doesn't cover 100%, but it covers a portion of their cost here.
I think it's really surprising when people think about Medicaid. They think that you have to be very poor, or that the community that you would need to be in would be very basic and more hospital-like setting, not such a beautiful community. Yes. So it's good for people to know that you can be at a beautiful facility, that Medicaid can supplement their income and some of their retirement savings. So something to
I've heard that
about.
as well, yes.
Yeah.
And it's totally true. And Medicaid has really changed over the years. When I first heard about Medicaid, they contribute close to $1,300, and this is going back years ago, and now it's about $1,850
Per person.
per person. Yes.
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
it's a couple, it's like $3,700 a month.
And that can help. That goes a long way.
That can make the difference between someone being able to come here or not. I don't want to see you guys make some of the mistakes that I made. And one of the mistakes that we made is when my parents were selling their condo and moving into independent living at that time, I knew enough to find out if the independent living had an assisted living component, and it did. What I didn't do was take a tour of the assisted living component. And when their needs became greater and they had to move to assisted living, my sister and I took a tour, and it was nowhere near the caliber or level that the independent living was. And so this made us start to look and say, okay, we have to find an adult living, an assisted living facility that if their needs continue to grow over time, that they're not going to have to move again. Because moving once in your 80s was a lot.
Yeah.
Moving twice in your 80s was something we were hoping to avoid. And we had looked at another facility, but they didn't have the same licensure that you have, although it was an assisted living facility. So can you talk a little bit about the licensure and what you offer, and as people's condition may worsen, how their level of care may become greater, and what you can do so that they don't have to move into another location?
Sure. And that's a great topic that you mentioned, because we get phone calls often where families have moved their loved one into an independent living community and didn't really take a look at what the assisted living or memory care, or, asked, is there memory care available on that campus, because their loved one has early cognitive impairment or early onset dementia. So here at Arbor Terrace, Cooper City, we have what's called the LNS license, and that stands for Limited Nursing Services. So we have a nurse in the community 24/7. So if a loved one needs help managing their oxygen, they're diabetic and need help managing their insulin, they require us to oversee their catheter care, Foley care, or things like that, we have a nurse here 24/7. So that's something that sets us apart from other communities.
I'm really glad you said that, because we did look at another community not knowing about the difference in licensure, and it was an assisted living facility. But my father has his blood sugar taken a couple of times a day because he's diabetic, and he has some inability to transfer a lot of the times. So the level of care that you offer here, I didn't know. To me, I thought it was an assisted living facility is a assisted living facility, yeah, and that they would all offer the same scope of care. But I found out, thankfully, before we made another move, that that wasn't the case. So in terms of pricing, if someone moves in and they are able to do their own medication management, for example, that was a big thing that Arbor Terrace offered that we wanted, was to have a professional manage their medication. Can you talk kind of about medication management, how that works, and the additional cost associated with that?
So medication management is one of the programs that we offer in the assisted living and memory care community here. And we will always advocate for the adult children and for the parents to let us manage their medications. We will be ordering, storing, and dispensing the medications to them. I have a few residents here currently at the community that have no cognitive impairment challenges, but we would still like to oversee their medications, because oftentimes it's hard when they're not driving themselves to go and get their medications from Walgreens, Publix, CVS, and we use an in-house pharmacy that delivers directly to the community. So if Dad told me, oh, I can manage my own medications, Ellen's going to be dropping them by for me every Sunday, well, we're going to say, well, Ellen's going on vacation. We really can't depend on Ellen to provide your medications to us. We would like to manage them. And that goes for medications, eye drops, topical creams, insulin, things like that we would need to oversee.
Yeah, I found that it has been so helpful because my father was managing both his medication and his wife's medication. She has some memory loss, and they both take at least 7 pills a day, some of them multiple times a day. So my dad cognitively is fine, but keeping track of that and remembering for two people, it was just becoming too much. And I know that, coupled with the frustration of dealing with the pharmacy and getting the refills, it's been a tremendous relief to him, and it's been a tremendous relief to all of us adult children, knowing that they're both getting their medication as prescribed at the times prescribed, and it's not something that we have to worry about anymore.
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
I just went through that this morning, having to call the doctor's office, wait on hold to get your doctor's approval for medications. And here at the community, our nurses advocate for the residents. So Dad doesn't have to do that on his own. We're doing that for him.
That brings us into another really important topic, which is the doctor that comes to the facility. Prior to moving here in the independent living facility, I was transporting them, or the place that they lived did provide transportation. But when my father wound up needing to be in a wheelchair, they no longer provided transportation. So my husband and I were providing transportation to the doctor. And as you know, when you get older, you have a lot of doctor's appointments. Now their primary physician comes here to see them.
Wonderful.
In the apartment, the podiatrist sees them. My father's wife is having some hearing loss problems. They were able to find her a mobile audiologist that I didn't even know that existed, and she'll be coming here to see them, as opposed to them having to go out for all of these things. So at this point, while my father's in a wheelchair and his wife is in a walker, those outings are really, really difficult for them to do. So
when a family comes and they're looking for assisted living for their loved one of the questions that we ask is, who is their primary doctor and do they plan on switching? So one of the great things of living in a community is the whole nursing department are advocating for your loved one. So just like how we were able to find the specialist that needs to see your dad's wife, they're able to come here and see her. So besides primary care physicians, we have podiatrists, psychiatrists that come in, mobile x-rays, mobile labs. So we try
physical
therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. We even had a mobile dentistry at once.
Really? That would be a good one to bring in again, I have to say.
Yeah, so we try to make it as easy, and the doctors come straight to the community. They speak to the resident themselves, and if needed, we can also do a telehealth visit, and then the nurses are there to help advocate for that resident. Any orders that come in, the nurses take care of it right away.
Took us a little while to get used to it, and now it just provides so much peace of mind.
Yeah, and the communication's great within the community because we have the doctor's phone numbers, the nurse practitioners, and if we need something, we can get them through text or phone call.
That was one of the reasons that we chose Arbor Terrace, was it is more of a boutique type residence. It's not a huge conglomerate. It's not like people by their door numbers. It really is a sense of community. And that everybody knows each other, and that they would, develop new friendships and have that caring, compassionate type of community was really important.
Thank you. We hear that all the time.
Thank you. It is. It's very, very important. What are also other very common questions that you get? Because I know what I get is, I don't know where to start. I don't even know where to start. That's where I get. So what is one? So we talked about pricing.
Pricing. A lot of families ask me visiting hours, and I'm like, no, this is not a hospital. We don't have set visitation, but you can come and go as you please. This is a private apartment and assisted living. If your dad say, hey Ellen, I'm going on a cruise with Freda tomorrow, it's like you sign out and you sign in, because this is not like a clinical institution where they can't leave. They can. They have lives and they come and go as they please. Downsizing apartments. So I've had residents that start off in a 2-2 by themselves, and once their care needs increase, they're able to go from that 2-bedroom to a 1-bedroom. If they needed to go to memory care, they can also go into memory care.
I know something that I see a lot of my clients come to me and they say, I don't even know where to start, because they're going to be downsizing from a larger condo or single family home or townhome into assisted living. So I would imagine that's something that you deal with a lot. What type of relationships do you have where you are able to work with the families and help them through that process? And what are the sizes, the different sizes of apartments that are available?
So that's another thing that's a challenge for some families that are downsizing, especially coming from a single family home. Oftentimes when, an adult is in their 50s and 60s and their kids have left the coop, they downsize from that large single family 4 or 5-bedroom home to a condo. Most of the residents that move into our community have already done one step of the downsizing, and they're coming from a 55 plus, where it might be a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom condo. But for those that are coming from the large single family home, we have 2-bedroom apartments that range between 950 to about 1,000 square feet. We have 1-bedrooms that range between 590 to about 724 square feet. And then we also have studio apartments, which is very comfortable. I even have a couple that are living very comfortably in a studio apartment.
Wow.
Because the whole idea is the whole community is their home. So we don't want, mom or dad stuck in their apartment all day. We want them to utilize the dining room, the activity areas, their outside patio.
It was actually Lucy from Arbor Terrace that had recommended a mover that specializes in seniors. Jonathan, I think was his name. And Jonathan did a wonderful job in coming in and not just doing the moving, but helping with all of the packing up and the moving and the setup of the apartment, which took, moving is stressful no matter what stage of life you're in. But at this stage of life, it's particularly stressful. So working with him and having him do the packing, the moving, and the setup of the new apartment, coupled with you had another Jonathan on staff here who set up the television and everything for them, made it a much easier transition.
I think it's great to have trusted community partners that you work well with, because movers like that, they know our floor plans. And let's say someone's moving into a large 1-bedroom, they will ask us for the floor plans with measurements, or they might even come and take it themselves. So when they go to meet with a parent, they can advise, this is going to be a little tight for your living room. So it saves time on bringing everything that mom or dad might point out and then it not fit in the apartment, because that can happen too.
Yeah, we definitely had that conversation. There were a lot of things that they wanted to bring over that just wasn't going to work space-wise. So having Jonathan echo what we had said, the family had said, this isn't going to fit. And they were like, oh, are you sure? Can we try? But having Jonathan, the mover that had the floor plan in his hands, he was like, yes, no, this is not going to work. So that was really helpful in helping them to let go of maybe more of things than they had originally thought that they would be.
I'm sure it helped having someone else say it other than their kids.
It really helped having someone else say it other than the kids.
Like when families ask me, like what things should I look out for when I tour the next community, I always advise them, not just look with their eyes, but look with their ears. How is the staff interacting with the residents, and how do the residents appear to be? Are they happy? Are they well dressed? Are their clothes soiled? Does it look like they've been in pajamas for 3 days, or are they wearing fresh clothes? Because those are some of the things that you might look past when you're touring a community. And one of the big things that residents tell me and families tell me when they're here is that it doesn't smell like urine. Assisted living communities are not what they used to be 5 to 10 years ago. They're building to be beautiful homes like this one.
So I know that when we were looking, some of the things that might not be as obvious one of the things is the dining. And I hadn't thought about it until I was in this process with my family, but what if I was eating at the same restaurant every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner? I better like that restaurant. Because if I don't like that restaurant, that's a really difficult thing. And so one of the things that people may not think about, but I would strongly suggest, is that they have a meal with the family at the facility so that they, and we did that, you know, we scheduled a lunch with Moosey, and it was myself and my stepbrother Jay and my stepmother Freda. My father was unable to be here, and we had lunch, and we were able to see what was the food like, what were the options like, how did the staff treat the, you know, the residents, and all of that was really important and part of the decision making. But I don't know that it would have occurred to me had I not been kind of going on this path for a while.
Yeah.
So, you know, questions that people have, there are so many things to ask. And I think we really need to ask the audience, what are the things that you want to know? What are the things that would help you and provide value? We'll definitely come back for a part 2, and we'll talk about things like, what questions should you ask? What should you look for? And we'll have those conversations. But there may be other things that you're wondering about that never even crossed my mind. And I really want the intention of this channel is to provide information and to educate people as they're going through this process, to make a difficult process a little less difficult. So please, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. We have a lot of other videos here. If you would like and subscribe, and again, I do read all the comments myself, so please comment in this section. Let me know what you want to know about, what you want to hear, any questions you have, and it's been a pleasure being here with you today.
Thank you, Ellen.